Welcome back to the Intelligent Broker podcast, where we sit down with innovative leaders who are shaping their industries through purpose, strategy, and a people first approach. Today, I'm joined by Bill Himmelstein, founder and CEO of Tenant Advisory Group, a Chicago based commercial real estate firm known for helping tenants, buyers, and sellers maximize the value of their space. With more than 20 years in commercial real estate, Bill has helped businesses save an average of $15,000 per employee in leasing costs and over 20% in purchasing price, while redefining what it means to lead through connection and service. Named one of Crane's most influential commercial real estate brokers, an active voice in the Chicago Leadership Alliance and Titan 100 community, Bill impact goes far beyond transactions. In today's episode, we're diving into what's next for commercial real estate, how companies can make smarter space decisions, and the power of relationship-driven business, and what true leadership looks like when impact goes beyond the deal. Hey, Bill, great to meet you. I really appreciate you taking the time today. Are you calling from Chicago?
And thank you so much, Dean. I'm really happy to be here. You make it sound like I'm somebody of relevance, yet in my own home, I never feel that way.
Isn't that the truth? You're just at home, but you look at all the things you've done, and it's pretty amazing.
That's right. That's right. No, I'm thrilled to be here. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Well, I saw the post about the Titan 100 Community Day. Was that an incredible event? You have such a great way of building relationships that really make an impact.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It was just when you get impactful people together to do impactful things, it's incredible the results you can have with people. It was just really a great opportunity to not only build personal connections, but to build up our community around us. So yeah, that was a really, really enjoyable event with some incredible other leaders of our great city here.
You do that yearly?
So I try to do events like that at least annually. And sometimes it's a little bit more. It's usually not less than once a year. But I also do a lot of stuff with my family. I don't really post socially about what my family's doing, but my family, we will do smaller kind of community events and just get out there to support those around us. We'll do that closer to monthly.
Yeah. I know how it goes. I'm doing the walk for Alzheimer's this Saturday.
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. I mean, just showing up is such a huge benefit, letting others know, hey, look, we're there to support you. We got your back. Keep working, keep fighting, keep doing what you're doing. But yeah, it's really giving money is one thing, and that's helpful too. Giving of your time, in my mind, shows that you really do care, because we all are busy. We have lots of things we could be doing and choosing to be doing. But when you choose to be of service and support others, I think that speaks volumes.
That's awesome. Okay. Thanks again for being here. Just a quick overview of what we're going to talk about. We'll start with your background, what inspired you to start Tenant Advisory Group. Then we'll talk about what's happening in the commercial real estate right now, from sustainability and hybrid experiences to how automation is changing the game. And finally, we'll wrap up with exploring what's next for you and the impact you're continuing to make across the country and the industry.
Wonderful. I can probably answer all those questions.
I bet you can. Okay, so what led you to start Tenant Advisory Group, and how has your vision evolved over the years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I can tell you the vision at the beginning was just to survive. Failure was not an option. And the reason why I started it was I never fully aligned with the values of some of the bigger firms that I worked at. And by that, I mean, they had no values. Their value was make as much money as you can and step on anybody's throat you have to get it. I understand when you're a publicly traded company and you've got quarterly reports and quarterly numbers to hit, it gets cutthroat, right? And people start doing things that might not be in the client's best interest so you can hit your quarterly numbers that your boss is pressuring you to hit. There was a lot of things at these bigger firms that I did not agree with. And most of it revolved around not actually acting as the fiduciary to your client. As you know, Dean, when we're hired by a client, we become their fiduciary, which means it's our job to act in their best interest. Well, I did not see much of this from these bigger firms that I worked at, and it didn't sit well with me. It's not who I was raised to be. It's not who my values are. And so that was one of the big reasons why I wanted to start my own company, was to do things the way that I thought were the right way to do things. And I'm not saying that I'm a perfect angel or that I'm the best broker. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is I started this business to do things the way that I thought were the right way to treat your clients, the right way to treat your team members, the right way to give back to the community. And so that's why I started this business. Another reason is because I always felt like these big firms had their hands in your cookie jar, right? You'd make a commission of, let's just say, $100,000, and you'd walk away with 16,000. And you'd go, wait a second. The firm didn't give me this lead. The firm didn't really do much for me to help me close this transaction. I went out and got the lead. I went out and found the different spaces available for my client. I negotiated the transaction and I closed it. Why am I giving, 80% to the house and to these other people I'm working with? I understand as a younger broker, you don't know as much. You need help. You need people to teach you. But I knew that as soon as I felt competent enough that I could run the process myself, find the space, get the client, find the space, negotiate the deal, I knew that's the exact moment I was going to walk away from, we'll call it big corporate.
Yeah.
To circle back to your original question is, well, what was my goal at the beginning and what is my vision now? Honestly, my goal and my vision at the beginning was to survive. But underneath survival was to provide an exceptional client experience. That's what I wanted to do with every one of my clients. And to me, Dean, it's not just while you're hired. It's not just while you're actively engaged to find space. It's throughout the length of the relationship. Before you're hired, once you're hired and finish the deal, to on out in the future is if I can provide my clients and my network with an exceptional experience and bring them value, I knew my company would do just fine. And 17 years later, we're doing just fine.
Good. Yeah, because wherever you go, there you are. So if you can't live with yourself, why do what you're doing?
I love that. Was that a Yogi Berra quote? I love that.
Wherever
you go, there you are. And you're absolutely right. And here's a great story to back that up. When I worked for other companies and I was taught cold call and sell and push and get hired, when I would see people I knew out in public, I kid you not, they would turn around.
Yep.
They didn't want to talk to me because they knew all I could say was, when's your Lisa? You got to hire me. I'm the best, because that's what I was taught. Once I was able to operate under my own belief system, under my own values, and under, my more, I'll call it relationship focused approach. Now when people see me, they make a beeline to come up to me. And it's not because I'm pretty, because we know that's not the case, but it's because I have brought them value. I've made an important introduction. I've found them a new client. I did something that was helpful to them that they want to come over and say thank you. And what a wonderful feeling to go about life. Oftentimes when I'm out with my family, we will run into somebody that knows me. They will come up to me and be very nice and complimentary, and it'll be a wonderful experience. And my kids always say to me, Dad, are you famous? And I say, no, kids, I'm not famous. But in the small business community here in Chicago,
Yeah.
I am well known because I'm practicing a giver's gain philosophy. Anybody who crosses my path, I'm trying to support them. I'm trying to bring value. I'm trying to be helpful to others. And that's why people are happy to see me now and want to say hello and want to engage. And it's a much more enjoyable feeling to go around and be appreciated rather than to be avoided.
Yeah. I think I know my dad got into insurance for a while, and he said people would go on the other side of the sidewalk when they saw me coming because he was taught, that insurance way of selling and stuff. And it doesn't really work. It works for a short while, but you don't get clients forever that way.
That's it right there. You can have, we look at it as a client is not a one-time transaction and that's the fee we're going to earn. We look at a relationship as a lifetime value, not just from them, but for their potential referrals so they can introduce us to. All of a sudden, that one client becomes exponential if you treat them the right way.
Exactly. That's a good philosophy. Well, that takes me to my next question. You built an incredible reputation as a connector. How has that shaped your business and the clients that you attract?
Yeah, that's such a great question because not everybody wants to network. Not everybody wants to connect, right? We all have different personalities. The one that I follow is the DISC profile, and I believe I'm a high I. I'm I want to try to connect with people in a way that they want to be connected to. It's harder said than done. I mean, it's a challenging thing to understand the best way to connect with people, but typically what happens, Dean, is like attracts like. And so I try to surround myself with good people that share similar values. And that's what ends up happening. So I get people that appreciate my positive energy and my giver's gain approach. And that's exactly what they tend to be like as well. It's more about, how do I connect with the other folks on the personality profiles? Like for example, maybe a more introverted numbers based person. I got to figure out, look, they don't want to come to my events. They don't want to meet other people. They don't care if I'm happy and positive. They just want to know, is this going to help my business? And how can the numbers reflect that? So the onus is kind of on me, Dean, to understand who's across the table from me, who am I dealing with, and how can I approach and communicate with them in the way that's going to be most effective to them. Obviously, before I know that, I lean into who I am, which is a high I, extrovert, very relationship focused, characteristics of those nature. But so I start with that. And if I don't get a good response initially, I'm going to start taking other approaches on the DISC profile, assuming that they are a different personality profile than myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in real estate, we try to mirror the personality of other people. And when I was teaching young realtors how to do real estate, I said, well, your reputation and your personality is going to decide how many deals you do. If you're into the numbers, you're going to deal with number people, and it's going to take you a long time to do a deal, and you're probably going to do fewer of them. So if you expand your personality, you can expand who you work with.
You're absolutely right. And that's a very, I think, underutilized point in our industry, Dean, is that we really need to try and mirror who we're working with.
Yeah.
We all have our personalities, and obviously that's what we're most comfortable with. But to the extent that you can, I don't want to say evolve, but we'll go back to the word mirror. To the extent that you can kind of reflect what your client is looking for, you're going to have more success.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's been the most rewarding part of helping companies rethink how they use their space? Because that in commercial, you see something and you go, oh, I can't fit in here. Well, if you move that wall, you move this wall, you do that and this, what do you do?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And there's a couple of different facets. But, number one, one of the values I didn't agree with at the previous companies I worked for was they wanted you to put your clients into as big of a space as possible with as long of a term as possible. Again, not being the proper fiduciary. Where I find a lot of value is finding my clients the right space and negotiating the best deal I possibly can. I had a client recently who we got a response to one of our proposals, and the client said, yeah, that's great. I accept. And I said, hold on a minute. I think I can do better. Will you give me a chance to get you a little more free rent, a little more tenant improvement dollars, a little lower of a rental rate? She said, sure. And I was able to do that. Now, doing work like that, it shows in my Google reviews, right?
Yeah.
Even firms like CB Richard Ellis, Jones Lang LaSalle, the biggest companies in the world, real estate companies in the world, they've got 5, 10, 12 reviews, and they're a mixed bag. These guys are the worst. Some are just a 5-star. And those often share the same last name as the CEO or the CFO.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, we have over 120, all 5-star reviews, all have detailed explanations of what we did, and none of them have the same last name as Himmelstein. So that really, and Dean, that has led to more cold outreach to us. People reaching out, they did their research online. Both Google and ChatGPT will point people our way because of those reviews. And so that's something that really makes me feel good when I know we've done such a great job for our client, even beyond their own expectations or beyond their own acceptance of an agreement, and we keep going.
Yep.
That's where we're separating ourselves from our competitors, because it's clear that we care about the relationship, we care about our clients. And even though our client says, yeah, we have a deal, sometimes when it makes sense, we keep going.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Let's talk about some of the industry trends. Commercial real estate has been kind of major shifts in the past few years. What trends are you seeing in tenant representation and office demand?
Yeah, sure. So obviously, there's very different outlooks for the different sectors of commercial real estate, being office, industrial and warehouse, and medical, retail. But in the office side specifically, there's some interesting things going on with. First, it starts in my mind with one man. His name is Jerome Powell. He's the Fed chairman. Uh, he's the man who controls the interest rates. Interest rates have a profound effect on the office market, not just in terms of buying and selling, but as those debt is getting restructured and refinanced, the lower the interest rates, typically, the stronger it's going to be for the market at large. In general, what we're seeing in the office market, I'm going to use the word recovery, but I want to preface by saying recovery is not going to be 1, 2, 3 years and we're back to pre-pandemic levels. What I mean when I say we are in recovery mode means we've stopped the bleeding, we've stopped the triaging. We're very. I'd say we're at the end of our rope with buildings getting foreclosed on, although there's still going to be some happening. But I just had lunch with bankers today who said, from a bigger bank, BMO Harris, and they were saying, we think we're pretty much out of the water. Like we've made it through. We're starting to lend again on office under the right circumstances. But the main thing that's happening, Dean, aside from interest rates, is unemployment rate. All right. That also is a huge factor on the recovery. And here's why. As the unemployment rate grows, which it is growing right now, even though the government can't tell us right now because they're shut down. But we've been seeing these unemployment numbers slowly creeping up. And as they do, what that means is the employees have less leverage to say, you know what? I don't want to come back into the office. And if you make me, I'm going to go to one of these other 5 companies I have an offer from. It's not happening that way right now. AI is also creating some job insecurity and making people want to stay at their current employer rather than seek other alternatives if one thing goes wrong in their lives. And so as the leverage for the employees kind of swings back, the pendulum swings back to the employer, it makes employers feel more comfortable to request their people come back to the office 3, 4, and some are doing 5 days a week. When you see companies like Amazon, Chase, American Express, even Zoom, what we're on right now, when they're, and of course the federal government, when they're requiring their people to come back into an office, it makes other smaller employers feel more comfortable saying, well, if they're doing it, then we can do it too. And so I still believe a full-blown recovery to pre-pandemic vacancy levels, still, I swear, I think we're 8 to 10 years out. No joke. That's not an exaggeration. But that being said, I do believe that in many markets, we're starting to see positive net absorption. New York is a great example. A lot of major cities in the Sun Belt area, like Nashville, Miami, name every city in Texas, they're seeing positive net absorption. They're having very strong recoveries because, they didn't really, excluding New York, COVID wasn't as disruptive for those Sun Belt states as it was for some of the more northern states. And so it's a little slower recovery in the more northern, and we'll just call it blue states, but it is happening. San Francisco has stopped the bleeding and they're getting back on positive footing. But with these factors I've mentioned, being interest rates, being unemployment, we are seeing, I personally am seeing more companies asking their people to come back, sometimes making it more of a demand rather than a request. And so I think that we've stabilized. We're still, a nationwide vacancy rate pre-pandemic was closer to 10%. And now that nationwide vacancy rate is closer to 16, 18%, depending on whose numbers you're looking at. And so we're slowing the vacancy, the exodus down, and people are coming back. People are, business owners have always seen the value. And we could go on and on about the value of having your people come in at least 3 days a week, the different various aspects of positives you get from that, productivity being one of the largest ones. But it's happening. It's going to be slow. It's going to be steady. We're also seeing a lot of buildings, not a lot, but we're seeing buildings, office buildings being converted to other uses, like residential, like industrial, even for that matter. So, and there's barely any new supply being built. So with all these factors, no new supply, getting rid of existing supply, people starting to come back, we are starting to see positive net absorption in more and more markets. And I do foresee that to continue.
Yeah, that's what I see as well as in the commercial realm. So, how are sustainability and automation influencing the way your clients think about their work environments?
Yeah, wow. You're getting the hard hitting questions. Sustainability, even in Chicago, which is a very blue city, dark blue city. I honestly, sustainability has not been a huge part of my clients' desires. I'm being completely transparent. I would love to say that it's a huge component and everyone's talking about it and everybody needs it. I think when a building already has sustainable components, it is a draw. I think my clients appreciate that and they make them feel good. Just like when you buy a Tesla, you feel good. You're doing your part for the environment. I have not seen a tremendous willingness for people to pay substantial amount extra to add sustainability to their needs. That's my observation. I wish I could say differently because I am a huge proponent of sustainability, and I do like seeing architects and developers who put that as part of their process and part of their value system. I also look at this current administration and their value system, and as they've taken away different, say, EV credits and different grants to sustainability projects, I don't think that that's going to help the sustainability efforts of the real estate community. On an individual basis, when it comes to business owners, I think it seems like everyone appreciates it. It's just a question of how much extra do people want to spend to make that part of their plan.
Right.
And then what was the other part of sustainability that you mentioned?
Automation.
Yeah, for my industrial clients, it's huge. It's funny. I just had a client today, brand new client that's going to be focusing on robots, and I've got another client that's focusing on robots. I mean, it's really, I would say, the demand for these coming from robotics companies and automation companies is on a steep incline. It's growing fast, and I think it's here to stay. And it's going to grow in demand. One of the robotics companies I'm working with, their goal, their mission is to help other companies figuring out how they can automate and how they can incorporate robots into what they're doing. And so, yeah, I do see a lot more automation coming into existence, really, and just it's going to continue to grow. I see that as a big sector that's going to have a tremendous growth ahead of it.
Right. And so now you were recognized as one of Chicago's most influential brokers. Well, what's changed most about how leaders approach deals today?
Wow. So I'm going to start by saying I have gotten my CNE, my Certified Negotiating Expert designation. Okay. And the biggest takeaway I got from that week-long class was to be collaborative rather than combative. I learned from other brokers that I worked for previously to yell and to make threats and to pound your fist that just never sat well with me. That's not who I am. I much prefer the collaborative approach. And I think I feel as if you get much more for both parties with that approach. So you asked me how leaders have changed in negotiations. I can talk about how I've changed and how I approach negotiations based upon watching people I respect and trying to emulate them, and watching people I don't respect and trying to not do what they're doing.
Yeah, good idea.
All I can say is I've taken away the positives and the negatives to try and be somebody that my clients can feel good about the result, that the landlords or sellers or whoever's on the other side of the table can also be comfortable with the result and want to work with me in the future. I want both sides, my clients and these other landlords and sellers, to want to work with me again. And I can show this in results when, say, I have a client that wants a space, but there's other tenants that have already gone through the space and shown an interest in that space. I'm typically able to get my client to skip the lines and get to the front because I've dealt with these landlords and leasing agents before. They know I'm an honest, straight shooter. I'm going to tell it like it is. I'm going to be open and share and collaborate and come up with the best solution that works for both parties. And so that's a huge benefit to my clients when they might be third or fourth in line for a space, yet my clients are the one that get it, not because they're offering the best deal, but because the other side has faith in me that we're going to do what we say we're going to do. We're going to be honest and we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
And that brings a lot of value to the table. So I'm not saying I'm a pushover negotiator, but I'm collaborative in the way that's going to benefit both parties.
When you don't bang your hand on the desk and demand things, and you work with somebody, it's so much different. I remember when I first joined my mom in Monterey real estate after doing 15 years in Sacramento, and I show her what properties I'm going to show. She goes, "You may not want to show that one. I know that agent; they're not fun to work with." You know,
That's valuable.
it's valuable. Yeah,
We do the same. I mean, there's a few landlords, I don't want to name names, but in this area and across the country where I'll let my client know, hey, it's great that you like, it looks like a good building. Here's my experience with this landlord. Now we will show you the property. And if that's the one you want, we will get it for you.
yeah,
But in my experience, this is what you can expect. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, the client says, thank you for that feedback. That's why we hired you. Let's skip that property.
good. Yep, it's good to be listened to because otherwise you're going to pay the price later.
Right. Absolutely.
So, what's working really well in the market right now?
You be more, what do you mean? In
Well,
terms of negotiation or getting hired by clients or what?
just getting transactions going.
Okay.
It's so
Yeah.
skinny.
Because I do believe that right now, more so than at any time in my 25-year career, I was able to witness the dot-com bubble bursting, the financial crisis of 2008, and this little thing called COVID that many of us may remember. All of those seem like it was easy compared to what I would describe as just the geopolitical climate that we're in right now. It has a lot of businesses taking a wait and see approach. Let's just hold on, figure out what's going to happen with tariffs, with immigration, with whatever it is the administration is going to do. And I think that at least what I've found to be a successful and productive way of dealing with it is to take it head on. Everybody seems to have a big pocketbook at the beginning of a transaction, right? We're ready to spend. We're ready to go find new space. We want it to be the Taj Mahal. And as you get closer to signing on the dotted line, the story oftentimes changes to, well, we're just not so sure. We don't know what's going on with this or that. Where there's too much uncertainty. We want to wait. So I try to attack it up front. When a client says to me, we're ready, we need new space, we need to buy, we need to leave, whatever it is they want to do, I say, can you tell me why you're ready?
Yeah,
Why is this the time? And they tell me, and I go, and you're aware of what's happening in our geopolitical environment. How's that affecting your business? So I like to, I kind of equate it to one thing I love about the residential side of the business is that you get to pre-qualify a buyer.
Yep.
They say, Dean, I want to buy a $4 million house. You go, great. Let's start with the bank and we'll find out how much you can, and it comes back, they can buy a $2 million house. Wonderful. Now you don't waste your time looking at $4 million houses, $3 million houses. You start right at 2.
yeah,
Well, we don't really have that on the commercial side like you do on the residential side. So I have to do my due diligence or pre-qualification through an interview process.
sure.
And I just try to be blunt and direct and open and honest and just say, listen, we would love to work with you. This sounds like a wonderful opportunity. Why is now the right time for you? Oh, okay. You guys are growing. You're getting hired by new clients. Are any of the geopolitical things affecting your clients? Because if it's affecting the clients, it's eventually going to affect them. So I just try to be upfront with it. And Dean, I'll tell you, it doesn't always work because this year alone, there's been 3 clients I can think of immediately where right at the finish line, the lease has been negotiated, everything's ready but the signature. And they've said, we're just not ready to do this right now. And it's always shocking to me that they spent all this money on legal fees and their time. And I know they don't care about our time, but they spent their own time going through all this and touring properties and reviewing proposals and, negotiating. So I just try to be upfront and direct and kill the problem before it happens.
Yeah, my mom always told me it's better to kill a deal up front than to wait till the end. Yeah.
100%. I agree.
So where do you see Tenant Advocacy Group heading over the next year or two?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. And, my answer to that is I am so happy with the direction we're going right now. I'm proud of the work we're doing for our clients. I love our client base. We're working with wonderful people who are good, smart, hardworking, great representatives of the community. And I want to see more of that, right? I want to see that continue. I'm love coming to work each day, and I love the people I'm interacting with, both within Tenant Advisory Group and out of Tenant Advisory Group, our clients. And my goal is to keep that same passion, to keep providing an exceptional experience for our clients. I don't necessarily have a goal of growth and more people. I can tell you this, Dean, I'm keeping 7 brokers outside of Tenant Advisory Group busy with referrals because my brokers in-house are too busy to take them on. Or maybe it's not their core area of expertise. And so I guess one thing I would like to see in the next year or two is taking some of those 7 brokers that I'm feeding opportunities to and bring them under the Tenant Advisory Group brand. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, my main concern is that my clients get the best representation possible. And if for whatever reason it can't be at Tenant Advisory Group, I want to make sure they get to the right person outside of Tenant Advisory Group. And I'll continue to do that. But I think one thing that would be nice is if I could get some of those terrific brokers that I'm referring a lot of business to come under the Tenant Advisory Group brand.
Yeah, well, I think if they see how you're working and they appreciate it, they'll think about taking that step.
I hope so.
So much for the community. What does impact look like in this next season?
Yeah, that's a terrific question. I was mentioning that we have a monthly newsletter that goes out to about 7,500 business owners and professional service providers. And we get a 30% open rate on that, which is insane. My competitors get a point something percent open rate. And the reason is because it's not just about commercial real estate. It's about, we feature, one of our clients' businesses. We feature a not-for-profit. We feature an executive in transition. We're trying to support our community. And the reason for this long-winded tie-in to answer your question is that every year in December, our monthly newsletter focuses around the organizations we are able to support over the past year. And, anybody who reaches out to me saying, Bill, I'm supporting this not-for-profit. Can you make a donation? The answer is always yes. Yeah. Unless it's some organization that wants to say, end, people like me's life or something. I don't necessarily want to support that organization. But aside from that, we're going to support any organization that our clients or contacts are supporting. And I love that December newsletter that says, thanks to all of our clients supporting us, we were able to support these organizations. And we put all their logos up, and usually there's around 20 or so. And I just love it. And so, we as in my family, we have a couple of service days coming up over the next few months, which I'm always looking forward to. My kids are excited about them, so I love those. And there's a few organizations that are very meaningful to me personally, but I am grateful to have the opportunity that when people reach out for my support, we're able to give it. And so it's really just about excited to see who reaches out and says, hey, Bill, I'm involved with this organization. This is what we're doing. Can you support us? Well, I'm going to save you the suspense. The answer is yes. We can support.
That's always good. Let's see. If you could change one thing about how the commercial real estate industry operates, what would that be? I think we kind of got over that. Just the difference between when you were working for one, now that you're by yourself.
Yeah, but you know what? I look at that as I have a saying. It goes, God bless the competition. Because without them, people wouldn't know how great we are.
That's
right? True. Most of our clients, we don't really work with startups. So all of our clients have worked with other brokers in the past. And a lot of them say at the end, wow, I did not realize this is what the experience could be like. That's music to my ears. So, you know, something that I wish could change about this industry, here's what I would say. Just like the residential market has the MLS, the multiple listing service, that's really kind of what I would call the gold standard of listings and market information.
Yep.
The commercial industry has CoStar, right? We have one company, and if anyone else competes with them, CoStar buys them, right? CoStar is probably one of my largest expenses on a monthly basis. Now they know that without them, I could not do what I do.
Right.
They know that. But they've got a great product. I'm not knocking the product. I'm just knocking the cost, because the reason why they can charge what they do is because they can.
Yep.
Right? They've got a monopoly. There's no anyone else that can. So that is one thing I wish that would change, is that there'd be a competitor to CoStar. But in terms of my current competitors, I get asked all the time, who do I compete with? And the answer is, I take business from all the other commercial real estate firms. They almost never take business from me. So I don't mind having competitors out there, because it just shows my clients what the experience should be like. So yeah, I mean, I like this industry. Any industry is going to have its bad apples. And sometimes those bad apples sour potential clients on the brokerage community in general. But that's why I don't mind taking the time to build a relationship, to build trust, to bring them value, so they see, no, I'm not like the typical salesperson who's just trying to get a deal done and move on to the next one. I'm invested in making this be a mutually beneficial relationship. So, I mean, I guess I could dive deeper and get granular, but I'm not really a pessimistic, negative person. So there's not a lot. I mean, I love what I do. I enjoy it. I feel like I'm pretty decent at it. So I hope this industry sticks around so I can continue to do what I love doing.
That's great. Well, it's been such a valuable conversation. I really appreciate your insight and what you've shared. You've given us a front row seat on how leadership in the community and negotiation all come together in your industry. Let's see. We want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your perspective. I love how you've tied the importance of the relationship to integrity in the community, and great reminder of the success in business and really how people you serve. You do a great job. To learn more about Bill and his work and his team doing at Tenant Advisory Group, visit tenantadvisorygroup.com or connect with Bill directly on LinkedIn. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe to Beyond the Blueprint and leave us a review. Next time, keep building smarter systems, stronger teams, and better business. The Intelligent Broker through the Intelligent Broker podcast. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Dean. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. And just a quick point of clarification, the website is tagcommercialbroker.com, www.tagcommercialbroker.com. And there's a contact us box on there, and I actually respond to those personally. So feel free to reach out. We're happy to answer questions. And thank you so much for the opportunity, Dean. I enjoyed it.